Hey everyone, welcome. So today we are going to look at leadership from a totally different angle. I want you to forget about mission statements and company values, just for a minute. We're going to focus on the one thing you actually feel every single day at work, the human nervous system. Let's dive in.
All right, so first things first, we're not starting with some dry, abstract theory. We're starting with something you know inside and out, what it feels like in your own body at work. And look, this isn't about trying to play therapist for your boss. Nope. This is all about learning to listen to yourself. Okay, so let me ask you something directly. Forget all the frameworks, all the buzzwords for a second, and just tune into yourself. Picture this. You're in a meeting, you have a great idea, you're about to unmute or raise your hand. What is physically happening inside your body right then and there? So, does any of this sound familiar to you? You know, that knot in your chest when you rehearse what you're going to say like 10 times in your head. Or maybe you just think, you know what, it's safer to say nothing. Or maybe you do the opposite. You over-explain everything, trying to cover all your bases before anyone can criticize you. That constant feeling of being on high alert. Listen, that is not a flaw in your personality. It's data. It's your body giving you crucial information about the leadership in that room. And right there, that's the core idea of this whole explainer. See, we're always taught to judge leaders by what they say, their values, their intentions. But what if we've been looking in the completely wrong place? What if the real way to understand leadership isn't about what's on paper, but what's happening in our bodies? So this slide right here, this is the big aha moment. The myth we're sold is that we're responding to our manager's values and good intentions. But the reality, the thing you actually experience day in and day out, is their nervous system. Think about it. Your body has no idea what the company values are on a poster in the lobby. But it knows, instantly, the tension or the calm in your manager's voice. That's what you're responding to. Their regulated or their dysregulated nervous system. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. People don't leave bad values. They leave uncontained nervous systems. I mean, really think about that. A company can have the most beautiful, inspiring values ever written, but if your leader can't manage their own stress, if they're reactive and just, chaotic, that's what your job feels like. People don't leave the values, they leave that feeling of constant, uncontained chaos.
Okay, so here's the thing. You don't really see a leader's true operating system when everything's going great. No, it all comes out when the pressure is on. A tight deadline, a big mistake, a customer complaint, that's when their nervous system really takes the wheel. So let's break down the 3 common ways this shows up.
All right, first up, we have the red zone, threat and control. You can think of this as the classic fight response. What's happening here is the leader's nervous system is basically screaming danger anytime there's a disagreement, a mistake, or any kind of challenge. It feels like a personal attack to them. And what do they do when they feel threatened? They try to regain control at all costs. So what does that actually look like for you? Well, their need for control turns into micromanagement, it turns into blame. Mistakes aren't learning opportunities, they're punished. And if you dare to challenge them, you can bet there will be retaliation. And for you, on the receiving end, it creates this state of, chronic hypervigilance. You're just always walking on eggshells. You're constantly afraid you'll be the next one in the hot seat. So what do? You shut down. It's a survival mechanism. Okay, next up is the orange zone, freeze, and avoidance. So this is a totally different reaction to pressure. Instead of fighting, this leader, they just freeze. They become paralyzed. They will do anything to avoid conflict. They'll delay big decisions, and they basically just cross their fingers and hope the problem just magically goes away. And let me be clear, this avoidance is not harmless. It's not neutral. When your manager just goes radio silent instead of dealing with an issue, it creates so much confusion and it just completely erodes trust. You'll see them deflecting things to HR or hiding behind some vague company policy instead of actually leading. And the experience for you? You feel totally unprotected. And, this is a big one, you're the one left holding the emotional weight of whatever problem was ignored. And that is absolutely exhausting. And that brings us to the green zone, the state we're all hoping for, co-regulation and safety. Now, this does not mean a leader who's soft or who never has tough conversations. Quite the opposite. It's a leader whose own nervous system is regulated enough that they can navigate pressure and conflict and actually make things better. They create safety by moving through the difficult stuff, not by avoiding it. So this leader, they stay calm under pressure, They can name a mistake, whether it's their own or someone on their team's, without blame, and just focus on how to fix it. When they're challenged, their first response is curiosity, not defensiveness. And the result of all that? You feel safe enough to actually speak up. Mistakes are just treated as part of the learning process. And that, right there, is how you build trust that actually lasts.
Okay, so now that we've seen those states, let's bring it back to you again. Because if you've been in one of those red or orange zones, chances are you have changed your own behavior just to get by. And I really need you to hear this. Those changes, those adaptations, they are not weaknesses. They are signs that you are smart and you know how to survive.
So, do you recognize any of these? Have you found yourself kind of shrinking your own voice, staying quiet when you know you used to be the one to speak up? Or maybe you've become an overperformer, thinking that if you're just perfect, no one can criticize you. Maybe you're masking parts of who you really are, or you've accidentally become the team's emotional sponge, absorbing everyone's stress. Again, these are not flaws in your character, they are survival strategies that the system you're in has taught you.
And this quote right here, this is so, so important. If you're changing who you are to stay safe at work, that's not a personal failing, it's information. If you look in the mirror and you don't really recognize the person you've become at work, please know that's not a personal failing. It is powerful, powerful information. It's telling you exactly what it costs to stay safe in that environment.
So, what's the point of learning all this? I'll tell you what it's not for. It is not so you can go diagnose your manager or try to fix them. That is not your job. The whole point of this framework is to give you the words, to give you a language for what you're experiencing, so that you can take steps to protect yourself. And here's a really simple, protective way to reframe it for yourself. Number one, name what you are really responding to. It's not their good intentions, it's their dysregulated behavior. Number two, understand your own reactions. The shrinking, the walking on eggshells, see them for what they are. Totally reasonable adaptations to an unreasonable situation. And number three, with that new clarity, you can then decide what is actually safe and realistic for you to do next. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought to hold on to. The next time you're spinning your wheels, trying to figure out what your manager really believes or what their intentions are, just stop. Instead, ask a much simpler and, frankly, a much more honest question. How does my body feel when I'm around them?
Because that gut feeling, that tightness in your chest, that's not just noise. That's the truth. That's where the real story lives, and you can trust it.